Before video games and smartphones, there were toys that built imagination, rhythm, and pure joy, especially in Black homes during the 70s. These weren't just toys, they were our childhood. Here it is, 13 toys only 1970s Black kids remember playing with. Don't forget to like, comment with your favorite, and subscribe for more soulful throwbacks. Big wheel. Back in the day, if you had a big wheel, you were the king or queen of the block. This plastic trike with its oversized front wheel wasn't just a ride, it was freedom on 3 wheels. Kids would speed down sidewalks like they were in the Indy 500, pulling sharp turns so hard the tires would screech. The sound of plastic grinding against concrete was part of the soundtrack of a 70s summer. Big wheels were more than a toy, they were status. If you had a bright red and yellow one with a sticker still on the wheel, you were a legend. Races, brake slides, and sometimes even pimped-out customizations with reflectors or streamers made each ride your own. And when someone got a new big wheel, all the neighborhood kids lined up to try it. It wasn't just a toy, it was a symbol of independence and fun. Moms would call out from porches to slow it down, and the front wheel was always a little worn from the hard play. But that didn't matter. The big wheel carried kids into make-believe cities, down imaginary highways, and right into some of their best memories. Easy Bake Oven. The Easy Bake Oven was a rite of passage for many little girls, and a few boys too, growing up Black in the 70s. This little plastic oven with a light bulb inside felt like pure magic. You weren't just playing house, you were making real cakes, cookies, and even cornbread. With supervision, of course. In Black households, food meant love. So imagine being 6 years old, mixing your own batter, sliding it into your own oven and watching it slowly rise. It gave a sense of pride, like you were part of the tradition that made Sunday dinners special. Whether it was trying to recreate Grandma's famous sweet rolls or just experimenting with frosting, this toy helped spark creativity and confidence. Some siblings teased, some stole a bite before it cooled, but everyone wanted a taste. Even if the cake was dry or lopsided, the applause from family was real. It wasn't just a toy, it was your first step into the kitchen, into identity, and into feeling grown. Jacks. A game of jacks on the front porch or kitchen floor could stretch into hours. All you needed were 10 tiny metal jacks and a small rubber ball. That's it, and yet the game had rhythm, competition, and culture built into it. It wasn't just about skill, it was about grace. Black girls in the 70s were masters at jacks. They'd sit cross-legged on the floor with fierce focus, flicking the ball in the air and scooping up 1, then 2, then 3 jacks with style. No peeking, no double bounces. And the older girls? They'd show off with tricks, flips, no-look scoops, even challenges that involved clapping or singing mid-game. It was social, too. Jacks was a way to bond. You played during church picnics, on school lunch breaks, or waiting for your turn at Double Dutch. It was always competitive but never cruel, and every scuffed jack or worn-down rubber ball held history. This tiny, humble game taught coordination, strategy, and how to laugh at yourself. Light Bright. Light Bright was more than just a toy. It was Black creativity glowing in the dark. You'd sit in a quiet corner with the lights off, pressing those tiny colored pegs through black paper templates. And when you turned on the backlight, pure magic. For Black kids in the 70s who didn't always see themselves reflected in media or toys, Light Bright offered pure freedom. You could make your own pictures, your own stars, your own stories in light. From flowers and rockets to faces with afros, the designs became more than decoration. They were quiet expressions of joy and imagination. Siblings would argue over color pegs. Someone always lost the orange ones, and the black paper tore easily. But none of that mattered when your design came to life. It was a moment of stillness, of pride. Sometimes you didn't even follow the templates. You just created. Leet-Brite wasn't loud or flashy, it was calm, creative, and safe. And for many, it sparked the kind of self-expression that would grow into art, design, or just a lifelong love of color. Tonka trucks. They were heavy, they were loud, they were metal, and in the hands of a 70s black kid, Tonka trucks became bulldozers, monster machines, or spaceships depending on the day. In black neighborhoods where kids turned dirt lots into imaginary cities, Tonka trucks were the construction crew. You'd dig trenches with a stick, then roll the dump truck through like you were building a skyscraper. The sound of those wheels clanking over gravel was part of the background of childhood. These trucks didn't break easily. You could throw them, stand on them, or fill them with mud. They were built to survive your imagination. And for kids with limited toys, that durability mattered. One truck could last years, passed down from older siblings or cousins, and still keep going. Tonka play wasn't quiet. It was noisy, messy, and full of movement. But it was also about control and building something, even if it was pretend. In a world that didn't always feel fair, that truck in your hands meant you were the boss of something, even if just a pile of rocks. Hula hoop. The hula hoop was more than a toy. It was a neighborhood competition. Whether you were on the sidewalk, the front yard, or at a family reunion, someone was always trying to show off their skills. And in black communities during the 1970s, hula hooping wasn't just about keeping the hoop spinning. It was about style. Kids would line up to take turns, cheering each other on and daring each other to beat the record. There was always that one cousin or neighborhood girl who could keep it going for minutes on end, hips moving like music was playing even when it wasn't. Some would double up with two hoops, others added tricks, spinning while walking, hopping, or even with arms in the air. But it wasn't just about fun. The hula hoop brought kids together. No batteries, no screens, just rhythm and laughter. Parents would peek out the window to watch and sometimes even join in, still wearing their church shoes. And let's not forget how the hoop eventually ended up rolling down the street with someone chasing after it yelling, "Don't let it go in the sewer!" It was simple, joyful, and pure 70s. Hula hoops taught rhythm, balance, and how to shine when the spotlight was just a circle of plastic around your waist. Barbie dolls with homemade glam. Barbie was a staple, but for many black girls in the 70s, she didn't always come in a shade that looked like them. So, creativity kicked in. You'd take the light-skinned doll and give her a whole new life. Sometimes that meant drawing on features or giving her hair a tight curl using bobby pins and hot water. Other times you hunted down the rare Christie or Julia dolls when you could find them. Barbie play was serious business. You didn't just play, you curated. Outfits were sewn from scraps by grandma or made from socks. Your Barbie had a backstory. Maybe she was a teacher, a singer, or a mom of 4. She had dreams, a man, if Ken behaved, and a house made from shoeboxes stacked like a duplex. Hairstyling sessions turned into mini salons. And if you had sisters or cousins over, it was a full production. Barbie fashion shows, weddings, even breakups and makeups with soundtracks playing in the background. But more than anything, Barbie gave black girls a space to imagine success, beauty, and power on their own terms. Even when toys didn't reflect them, they found ways to reflect themselves in the play. Lincoln Logs. Lincoln Logs might have been marketed as frontier toys, but in black households, they were architectural masterpieces. Kids would build log cabins, schools, and whole towns on the living room floor. It didn't matter that they weren't flashy, they were pieces of possibility. In the 70s, many black families emphasized education and creativity, and Lincoln Logs gave you both. You learned patience, planning, and how to build something from nothing. You could spend an hour stacking the perfect cabin only to have your baby brother crash into it and start all over again with a sigh and a grin. Lincoln Logs were often passed down, and they showed signs of wear, chewed edges, faded wood, and missing roof pieces. But those gaps just meant more creative solutions. You used books to make hills, Tupperware for lakes, and toy soldiers to guard the homes. These logs were like puzzle pieces of imagination. They encouraged teamwork, taught balance, and showed that you didn't need batteries to feel accomplished. When you looked at what you built, you saw more than a cabin. You saw control, creation, and maybe even the roots of a future engineer or architect. Etch a Sketch. Etch a Sketch wasn't easy, but once you got the hang of it, you felt like an artist. With just 2 knobs and a screen filled with aluminum powder, you could create magic, slowly, line by line. And when the sketch was finished, a quick shake and it all disappeared like it never existed. Black kids in the 70s used the Etch A Sketch for doodles, love notes, and sometimes serious artwork. It took patience and imagination. Whether you were trying to draw your mom's face, a church, or a cartoon character, every twist of the knob felt like a challenge. If your cousin bumped your elbow while you were working, it was war, but sometimes you'd team up. 1 kid on each knob, trying to make a circle or a house together. And even when it turned out crooked, there was pride in the effort. Etch a Sketch wasn't flashy, but it helped kids learn focus and follow through. It was quiet creativity in a loud world. And that red frame with the silver screen? Iconic. Slinky. The Slinky was a mesmerizing mystery. How could a coil of metal, or sometimes plastic, bring so much joy? But in the 70s, black kids would sit on staircases just to watch it tumble down, step by step, over and over again. Stairs were gold for this toy. If you didn't have them, you improvised. Books, boxes, or even the front porch steps. And watching that smooth motion was hypnotic. You'd nudge it gently and cheer when it made it all the way down, or groan when it got stuck and collapsed halfway. Slinkies tangled easily, and once they kinked, game over. But until that happened, they were magic. You could stretch them between your hands, bounce them, even hang them from doorknobs just to watch them wave like a dancer. Slinky play was a quiet break from noisy games. It taught kids patience and awe, and that simple spiral still holds a special place in the memories of every child who made it walk, jump, or flip across the living room floor. Viewmaster before smartphones and tablets. There was the Viewmaster, a little red plastic device that let 70s black kids travel the world without leaving their living rooms. You'd slide in a circular reel, hold it to your eyes, click the lever, and be transported. Whether it was scenes from Disney, outer space, wild animals, or even Bible stories, the Viewmaster brought vivid 3D magic to your fingertips. In many black households where family vacations weren't always feasible, the Viewmaster was like a personal passport. Kids would sit cross-legged on the carpet, flipping through reels for hours, imagining adventures far beyond the neighborhood. The sound of the clicking lever, the slight blur before the next image focused, it was all part of the ritual. And let's not forget trading reels with cousins or the feeling of finding a new set at a garage sale. Sometimes the reels came from thrift stores or were hand-me-downs from older siblings, slightly scratched but still filled with wonder. The Viewmaster wasn't just about pictures, it was about possibility. It sparked curiosity, fed the imagination, and opened up dreams in a time when visual access to the world felt limited. A simple toy, but for so many, it left a lifelong impression. Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Nothing brought out pure sibling rivalry like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. This plastic boxing ring with 2 blocky fighters, Red Rocker and Blue Bomber, was the ultimate showdown. And in black households during the 70s, it wasn't just a game. It was a battle for bragging rights. The setup was simple. 2 kids facing off, each controlling a robot with thumb levers. The goal? Punch until your opponent's head popped up. But the real fun was in the commentary, the trash talk, and the celebration dance when you landed the knockout. Somebody always yelled, "Boom!" like it was a real fight. Kids would host tournaments in the living room, turn up the radio for background hype, and even bet their turn on the winner. And if a robot broke, Dad or Uncle Charles was called in with duct tape or super glue. More than a toy, Rock'em Sock'em was about energy, reaction, and sometimes letting off steam in a fun way. It wasn't violent, it was playful, competitive, and full of laughter. That loud pop of a head shooting up, instant joy, and the rematch always happening. Jump rope, double Dutch style. Of all the toys from the 70s, none built rhythm, community, and joy quite like jump rope, especially double Dutch. This wasn't just a pastime for black girls, it was a cultural art form. 2 turners, 1 jumper, and a crowd ready to clap, chant, and cheer. Neighborhood sidewalks became arenas. Kids used clotheslines or actual ropes, and the beat of the game came with songs. Cinderella dressed in yellow or Miss Mary Mack. Each line added pressure but also groove. You learned to time your hop, twist midair, and never let the rope catch your toes. The best jumpers could do tricks, crisscross arms, flips, or jumping in pairs. It wasn't just skill, it was performance. And the crowd reacted like it was the Apollo stage. Boys watched in awe or tried to join, sometimes laughed off, but always welcomed if they could hang. Jump rope taught confidence, endurance, and rhythm. And it wasn't just for recess. It happened after church, at family barbecues, and on quiet evenings under porch lights. The rope hitting concrete made music, and every successful jump was another beat in the soundtrack of a beautiful black childhood.